Thank you very much, Mr. Frick. First, let me say how much of a thrill it is to be coming into the Hall of Fame with Bob Feller, Mr. McKechnie, and Mr. Rouse. I just hope you don't mind if I just pay a word of thanks and a tribute to my advisor and a wonderful friend, a man who I considered a father, Mr. Branch Rickey.
Many know the story of Jackie Robinson. In 1947, the 28-year-old from California became the first African-American baseball player in the major leagues. The rights of an entire race depended on his ability to block out the noise of the prejudiced white population. But behind the scenes, one man masterminded the noble experiment to integrate baseball. His name was Branch Rickey, the general manager and part owner of the Brooklyn Dodgers baseball organization. Rickey's visionary and transformative leadership in integrating Major League Baseball had significant repercussions, not only in athletics, but also as a precursor to the Civil Rights Movement. A descendant of westward traveling pioneers, Wesley Branch Rickey was born on a farm in Stockdale, Ohio on December 20th, 1881. Rickey was raised with a strong faith and was taught that all men have been created equal. While he played baseball into his young adulthood and even had a brief stint in the major leagues, Rickey's career was cut short by his refusal to play baseball on Sundays. Branch learned early in life that the brain was stronger than the bicep and determined he would always be the intellectual. Rickey worked hard and earned his way through college and law school. However, after only practicing for a short time, Rickey quit law for college baseball coaching jobs. Eventually, Rickey worked his way up to become the vice president of the St. Louis Cardinals. Even during his playing days, Rickey was always the leader. He only wanted to play catcher since that was the only position where he could survey the whole field and take control of the whole team. Rickey was a man of great contradictions. He was an awesome figure, yet he was approachable as anyone could be. He was known as a flowery and utterly persuasive speaker who could confound with eloquence or teach with simplicity. Rickey had a somewhat arrogant genius to his innovative mind, but he was never short of sympathy and care for his fellow man. These are the types of traits that set Rickey apart as a visionary leader. Branch Rickey is perhaps best known for his innovative and visionary spirit. In 1921, Rickey was hired as the vice president of the St. Louis Cardinals. To counteract the lack of funds, Rickey invented the farm system, in which the Cardinals would buy out minor league baseball teams and replace their personnel with the Cardinals coaches to train and prepare the players for major leagues. At that time, these minor league teams weren't affiliated with any particular major league organization. Rickey, the visionary, saw these leagues as an opportunity to nurture Cardinal talent at lower levels and then bring the players up when they were ready to compete in Major League Baseball. Other managers and executives denounced Rickey's farm system, but in reality, the managers were simply unhappy that they could no longer poach minor leaguers for their own team. And after the highly criticized system proved very successful, as the Cardinals saw World Series championships in 1926, 1931, 1934, and 1942, every team began to copy Rickey's innovation as to not concede an unfair advantage. Not only did Rickey flip scouting and player development on its ear, he also developed more training devices than any other man in the game. Most of his inventions are now commonplace, such as the batting helmet, the batting cage, and the pitching machine. Rickey brought theory and strategy to baseball. Rickey also saw that, as a prominent American sport of the day, baseball had the power to touch people in ways that court decisions and debates in Congress could not. Rickey saw baseball as a prime medium for a social change.
From the time of my coaching in college, where the great halfback, the great catcher on my team, Charles Thomas, a colored boy from Zanesville, Ohio, when we went into South Bend to play Notre Dame, and we couldn't find a place for him to stay, they wouldn't let him stop at the Oliver Hotel. And we undertook to find a place for him, and it took some time, and he's up in my room temporarily. During that period, I can remember him sitting on the edge of the bed, pulling his fingers, with a great big tears running down his cheeks, a great effort to control his emotions. How he would try just to pull the skin off, as he'd say, if they were only white. If they were only white. That was the only difference.
This experience stuck with Rickey for a great many years. The utter injustice of segregation was always in my mind, he told an interviewer in early 1956. I felt very deeply about that thing all my life. However, if Rickey was going to work towards integrating baseball, he would have to leave the baseball empire he built in a deeply segregated St. Louis. Rickey headed north to Brooklyn and the Dodgers baseball organization, a relatively poor club affectionately called the Brooklyn Bums. Rickey knew that integration would not only bring equality to the African American race, but it would also benefit the Dodgers in much the same way the farm system benefited the Cardinals. In 1942, Rickey was hired as the general manager and team president of the Brooklyn Dodgers with integration on his mind. However, it was in Brooklyn where he met his number one roadblock, ownership. Rickey couldn't radically change baseball if he wasn't at least a part owner of the Dodgers. This effectively put Branch's noble experiment on ice for a few years. Fortunately, ownership was passed in 1945 and Rickey obtained a 25% share. He immediately brought his plan for integration to George McLaughlin, the president of the Brooklyn Trust Company, which essentially held a mortgage on the Dodgers organization. When McLaughlin agreed after Rickey convinced him that adding African Americans to the Brooklyn roster would also be good for business, Rickey next raised it with the Dodgers board of directors, who unanimously approved the plan and swore each other to secrecy, promising not even to tell their own families. Branch Rickey spent a total of $25,000 in all of the Caribbean countries, only to find that the greatest African American players were in the United States, playing in Negro League baseball. The Negro Leagues were baseball leagues in the United States that were entirely comprised of African American players, since these players were barred from playing in Major League Baseball. Rickey went to great lengths to hide his motives for scouting these players. He even created another, separate Negro baseball league called the United States League to explain why his scouts were traveling around the country watching Negro League baseball games. However, records show that the United States League never played a single game. It was simply a ploy by Rickey to hide the fact that he was about to change baseball forever. One player in particular, Jackie Robinson, a member of the Kansas City Monarchs team, greatly interested Rickey. On August 28, 1945, Jackie Robinson traveled to Brooklyn to talk with Branch Rickey about joining the Brooklyn Brown Dodgers, a team in the newly formed United States League. What Robinson didn't know was that Rickey was actually scouting him to join the all-white Brooklyn Dodgers of Major League Baseball, but Rickey wanted to make sure he had not only the right man on the field, but also the right man off the field.
You want a player who doesn't have the guts to fight back?
No. No. I want a player who's got the guts not to fight back.
Robinson played the 1946 season in Montreal, Canada with Brooklyn's top farm club, the Royals, before joining the Dodgers, and on April 15, 1947, Jackie Robinson became the first African American player to compete in Major League Baseball. Robinson relied heavily on Rickey as both a mentor and a friend during his first few years in Brooklyn. Rickey, privy to the latest in social science thinking, in turn instilled a sense of inevitable change with the team, where the mutual feeling among a group is that change is inevitable, and therefore the prejudiced individuals were inclined to fall in line with the new reality. This required great leadership from Rickey, because if leadership is weak, then opposition to the new reality would have been encouraged. Rickey's noble experiment of integration succeeded mainly because of his ability to impose his new reality upon the members of the Brooklyn Dodgers organization. Wesley Branch Rickey was inducted into the National Baseball Hall of Fame on January 29, 1967. ESPN named him the most influential sports figure of the 20th century, and just 3 years after Robinson's entry into baseball, every team was either adding African American players or getting ready to. Rickey had not only changed the game by coming up with innovative new ideas like the farm system, he had also tapped into American culture and advanced rights for African Americans in a way no one thought a baseball man could. The signing of Jackie Robinson by the Brooklyn Dodgers was among the first movements towards equal rights for African Americans. It was 3 years before the integration of the armed forces, 9 years before the Supreme Court's Brown v. Board of Education decision, and a full decade before the Montgomery bus boycott. Rickey's integration of baseball went far beyond winning the pennant. When he gave America a picture of an integrated game, Branch Rickey started them down the path to an integrated society.